to Rainbow Vision Network, a radio show reaching beyond the limitations of our minds and beliefs into a world of inspiration and empowerment where the impossible is possible. To talk directly to the host or guest, call 347-637-2650 and press 1. To learn more about your host, Betsey, her new riveting books on Amazon, Communicating with the Other Side, True Experiences of a Psychic Medium, and Angels, Aliens, and Prophecy 2, be sure to check out Betsey's scheduled events, her predictions, and her Earth News 1 blog at betseylewis.com, BetSeyLewis. And now, your host, author, international psychic medium, Earth Keeper, and Earth Mysteries investigator, Betsey Lewis.
Songwriter, inventor, and has been the Maritime Square billboard. What was that all about?
Well, actually, what happened there is I put out a press release that was pertaining to the new Pentagon Report. And the new Pentagon Report is all about the multi-tiered challenges of climate change. And this comes from the Pentagon. And what's remarkable about it is that they list virtually everything that MEIER has been warning about since 1951, 58, and all of that. And of course, there's even more warnings that have come forward, and I have a new blog up just this afternoon that spells things out even more. Well, when that Pentagon report came out, I thought that was pretty newsworthy, that it would, be good to put out a press release showing, because of course the Pentagon wasn't talking about Billy Meier, but they were laundry listing everything he'd been warning about, now saying that these are very, very real critical challenges, and they represent challenges for military operations, for all sorts of things in the world. Kind of finally we're coming around to getting, that Meier was painfully right about all this. So when I did that press release, one of the options was that they would take, if I included a photograph in that press release, they would display that photograph in Times Square. It would go up on their digital board, would be seen for about 15 seconds. Now, that's 15 seconds better than nothing. So I said, yeah, and I bought the press release and put it out, and it's actually been seen pretty much now all over the world, and it continues to be seen. That's the way press releases kind of, interesting ones will start to propagate and take on a life of their own, hopefully. So that's one of the new developments in the Meier case. It's one of many new developments, and we can go through any and all that you would like to discuss and that your listeners would be interested in. Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, how's Billy doing? I know that he's going to turn 78 this next year. So how's his health? How's he doing? And when was the last time you visited him?
Well, actually, I don't think I've been there for, 2013, a year and a half or so. I think it was that. But the last I heard through people that I talked to there, he's fine. He works very, very hard, and sometimes he kind of burns himself out, goes down to the count for a little bit, and then pops back up with his work. And at this point in time in history, we're really we are now in the time that he had long foretold. We're in a sense at the beginning of some of it, and a little farther in on other parts, but there's a lot more coming.
Wow. Well, let's start with the Plejarens. Who are they? Where are they from? Why are they here? And why did they pick Billy? I know that's a lot of questions, but maybe you can cover that in short few sentences here.
All right. The Plejaren, let me have my little caveat at the beginning of this, and that is to say, according to the information in the case. there's some things that I and anybody else could prove with a little bit of time and research on their own. But there are other things that we have to just say according to the information in the case, because we may not be in the position to definitively prove it in the sense that people are used to having proof. So, according to the information of the case, the Plejaren are an extraterrestrial human race who are, let's just say, long associated with our world throughout our history, going back many thousands of years. Their forefathers, in some cases, were our gods. Now, they weren't the only extraterrestrials that were involved in the various early contacts with primitive, early developing humans, but some of their ancestors were among the gods. Because of the interference in our development, in our evolution, by their forefathers in some cases, and others, they have a self-obligated mission to assist us, and it's a mission that they've actually been conducting for well over 10,000 years. And they do that primarily, periodically, by contacting one Earth person who has the capacity on certain very crucial levels to be able to handle the contacts, to interact with them, to carry forth the contents of this particular mission, if you will. In other words, to bring to the people of Earth what is called the true spiritual teaching, the teaching of creation, the teaching of truth, the teaching of life, the teaching of spirit, and to give us information that also has the form of prophecies and predictions, which are really meant to awaken us to the direction we are headed unless we change and make positive corrections. And what they do, as I said, they contact one person through different epochs of time who has the capacity to handle this task, who has the strength of character to withstand the outrageous, the slings and arrows and all of that, and even worse, to, crucifixions and attacks and gunshots and what have you, more recent history, and who will stay the course and do that work despite all opposition from any and everybody else on the planet who can't handle it. The situation is such that there have been 6 previous prophets whose names are probably familiar to most people, all but one of them anyhow: Enoch, Elijah, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Emmanuel, we'll come back to that, and Muhammad. These were the 6 previous prophets. Emmanuel is said to be real name of the man who did live, who was crucified and survived the crucifixion, and who in his life was never known by the falsely ascribed name of Jesus Christ. It was the life of Emmanuel. He's mentioned in Isaiah 7:14 and Matthew 1:23. It was the real person of Emmanuel, upon whom the fictitious person of Jesus Christ was based, according to this information. Now, I'll give you this whole thing so we have some context. In each of these cases, from Enoch to Muhammad to the final prophet for Earth, who's currently known as Billy Meier, the spirit was the same originating spirit that evolved through time and incarnated sequentially in these 7 prophets, as well as having other, you might say, incidental lifetimes in between, but that these were the most, let's say, historically impactful lifetimes, all centered around this one particular mission, and which requires no further prophet, because during this time we finally have the electronic age. Previously, very few people could read and write. Now, most of the world can, and the teaching, the information is preserved electronically for all times.
Wow. That's interesting. Doesn't reincarnation play into all this too, especially with Billy? I would think with other people that have been involved with the Plejarens, right?
Yes. Well, reincarnation, according to this information, is a fact of life. We don't know that conclusively. For the most part, we either believe it or we don't believe it. But we yet don't know the truth of certain things that they claim are essential to understanding reincarnation. For instance, first and foremost would be that every human being has a spirit, not a soul, although we have what is commonly called the soul. That's temporary and transitory, but we have the human spirit, which is said to be an eternal, immortal part piece of the universal consciousness, the creation, as they call it. The spirit is physically located deep in the center of the brain. The soul actually refers to the area around the solar plexus, the psyche, the nerve plexus, all of that area, and that pertains more to the personality, elements of the consciousness, and things that are temporary, our emotional nature and all. These are temporary constructs that we create and develop in each lifetime. Upon death, all of that dissolves, and that energy is absorbed by the spirit. This happens in an unconscious to us way. The personality ceases to exist upon death, and yet the spirit will reincarnate as a subsequent new personality, completely new, different person, not directly at all connected to the past personality, though in an evolutionary sense there could be said to be connections and development evolutionarily. As you mentioned, in Billy's case, as this personality, Billy Edward Albert Meier, is the current personality that's enlivened by this eternal, immortal spirit that is extremely ancient, far older than any of the existing spirits on this planet or with the Plejaren. So it's said with anybody actually in the universe, if this is a spirit that had already gone through all of the development of human lives, millions of them, over and billions of years of evolution that were spent not only in the material world, but in the semi-material world, and then also in the what's called the Arahat Athersata levels of the purely spiritual levels. We are not able to get in touch with those levels ourselves. That requires a consciousness and spiritual development that is not available to anybody on the planet. Now, this is not one of those, this guy's better than everybody else kind of a thing. This is simply the gig. And this is, it's not a celebrity status, because Meier doesn't run around to UFO conferences. He doesn't go out and give lectures or make appearances. He's had 22 documented attempts on his life. He busies himself with his writing. He meets with the Plejaren to this day. He works with a group of friends that are around him in the community that help to disseminate his information. But this is not, it's pretty much a thankless gig in terms of the overall consciousness in the world today. So he does his work dutifully, and he's happy to do it, and it is meant not only and not even mainly for us now, but for generations to come, many generations to come.
Michael, let me ask you this. Are we just in the kindergarten baby spiritual development phase right now? Or I know that there are many evolved beings out there, but basically the humans on Earth right now, where do we stand right now?
Well, the Plejaren gave Meier a structural reference, which is 7 stages of development with 7 sub-stages in each of these 7 major stages. I don't want to get too tongue-tiedly, trippingly tied up here, but Each of those stages within each of the seven stages can take thousands of years, even more, to go from one level to another, because evolution is a very, very lengthy process before we even begin to approach, going into semi-physical, semi-spiritual form. There's millions of years before that will happen. We are said to be overall somewhere approximately in the second stage of the second seven. Now, there is a diagram, and I don't have it in front of me. It's very interesting, but I haven't found that it's all that useful to try to describe it, even when it's in front of me, to try and talk about it so much on the radio, because it's like, well, what can we do with that? One thing we could do, without even seeing the diagram, is to realize that it is absolutely critical, especially in our evolution right now. You can see we're a little out of kindergarten here for sure, but that we have got to make some very, very dedicated, committed, wide-awake decisions and choices about our evolution, or we are going to have an unimaginably brutal period that could last 800 more years. Incomprehensible, but I blogged about it today. We are really looking at a horrifically difficult time, and unless more and more people wake up, stand up, and decide to throw off their blinders and their penchant for being overly entertained and distracted, really people will be enslaved. Bottom line. Apart from all the destruction, enslaved, and Meier started predicting this as far back as 1958. He reiterated it 50 years later in 2008. I have links to it in my new blog today on the information. We can see this occurring right now before our very eyes. So, one of the challenges we have now got to get ourselves beyond being entertained or oohed and awed about unusual things, paranormal things, UFOs. It isn't the point. The point is our future survival and what we do to assure it in the here and now.
Well, you're so right about Earth is just everything is accelerating. We're in just the crossroads. Everything is so crucial right now that where we're going to go and what's going to happen to our planet. I mean, we see animals and species dying and our waters being destroyed. There's so many more important things right now. And I think that we can all, people ask, well, what can one person do? I think if we all come together, we become, there's 7 billion people on this planet. We can certainly change things. Don't you believe that, Michael?
Well, actually, there's over 8.3 billion. That's another thing. You see, we haven't been, 8.3 billion. Now, it's not surprising if none of us know that figure, because the population numbers are played down, because that happens to be the core of our problems, the absolute underlying core. We are overpopulated. Now, when we say that, people go, oh my gosh, the elite, genocide, wipe everybody. No. We are doing a fantastic job of wiping ourselves out because we simply overbreed, which means we overconsume, we overdispose, we overpollute, and we create the strife and the destruction by simply unrelentingly bringing new lives into the world, instead of letting, through natural means of attrition, where people are allowed to die, you don't keep breeding, and bringing more people into the world, but letting the world breathe, letting ourselves breathe, because it is the competition for resources, which is also driving all of this stuff with war, even terrorism, all of this. Too many people, and it is not at all in this material recommended that we eliminate people through war and destruction. So these are difficult things for a lot of people to grasp, but it's simple, it's physics. I mean, geology, it's geography. How many organisms can you put on a closed system, on a limited space, and expect it to keep sustaining? How many people would you bring into your house day after day and expect to be able to feed and keep clean? It's very basic, but this is pumped at us by religion and politics to keep people overbreeding and filling the coffers and being, willing slaves and servants, or unwilling, just to support.
It's insanity.
It is
total insanity out there.
Well, this is why it's very hard to reason with a lot of people, because they fall into right away it's a conspiracy to get kill everybody. No, the open conspiracy is that we're doing it to ourselves through our ignorance and our lack of wanting to know the truth and to realizing the laws of cause and effect. This stuff is at the heart of the Meier case. They have tried for decades to get us to just slow this thing up. We have a problem in the country, no matter what side of the, let's say, political spectrum you're on. We have a problem with illegal immigration. People flood into the country from wherever. It cannot be sustained. It's already crashing our medical and educational systems. These are facts. These types of things anywhere in the world, unfortunately, degrade countries. They spread disease. They bring new diseases into countries where there isn't an inherent natural resistance. These things are going to go haywire. We are, Ebola, there's dengue fever coming. I blogged about that. And other mosquito-borne illnesses, other, human transferred illnesses. It's absolutely insane what we're doing and allowing to be done. And it's not even, anybody can know they're right if they see this stuff. And it doesn't matter, in a sense, which politician and which party. We are putting up with processes that don't serve the people. Whether they're Democrats, Republicans, Tea Parties, or otherwise, when people get in power, they get seduced by power, and unless they are beyond strong, they fold to it, they are manipulated by it, and then the country, the people, are not served. They are, just absolutely abused by these things.
How true, Michael, how true. We've got to get back to honoring Mother Earth. She's our mother, and if we destroy her, we have nothing. We have to get back to, I think, indigenous ways where we honor and cherish everything that is alive on this planet. And we've forgotten how to do that because, like you said, we're so involved in our cell phones and TV and everything else that we've forgotten that, without her we can't survive. And I feel that lower vibrations are taking place right now because of everything, the nuclear plants, what we're destroying on the planet. Everything is just, like we said, insane. It's out of control. We've got to human up out there.
Well, Betsey, there's no arguing with any of that. The beauty of this information, of the Meier case, is that it actually gives the kind of the manual, if you want, no pun intended here, the instructions, the recommendations and advice. This is contained in the spiritual teaching. It's contained as well, some of it, in the prophecies and predictions which point to the spiritual teaching. And most of this is available absolutely for free. People just have to want to find out. It's on my website. It's linked from my website. It's on my blog and linked from my blog. You can spend as much time as you want freely going through. But the core of this spiritual teaching, there's several elements that could be named right away. Number one, we have to begin to see things as they are. That means self-honesty, because we're not only going to see the things outside of us as they are, we must start to be self-honest and see ourselves as we are. And this is something that actually the Plejaren for some time did not comprehend about us that we lied not only to each other so much, but fundamentally to ourselves. It was illogical. They could not get how illogical we were to do all this lying, because lying never improves anything. It simply delays and compounds the negative consequences of the lie. So in the spiritual teaching, we're encouraged, to be self-honest and see things as they are. From that perspective, we learn to observe every single thought that we have. And that means that all of us, we are thinking all the time. We are generally unconscious of our thoughts. Unfortunately, because each thought gives rise to a feeling. Each feeling can give rise to another little micro thought that can impel us to act. And it is this sequence, this unfailing thought, feeling, thought, action sequence, that is what produces our individual and collective lives. This either sounds simplistic or too complicated for a lot of people. But it simply is when one just takes a breath, thinks about it, it's like, yeah, okay, if I think this, I feel that way about it. And then I think I might do something. Meaning, it doesn't mean a great action, and it doesn't mean a short action. It means that we move day to day, moment by moment through life based on these thoughts, many of which are based in our past and in our misperceptions about life. Can you imagine 8.3 billion people, apart from infants and little children, all are contributing to this colossal mess because of the conditioned thoughts? This is where this is at, Betsey. It's profound. It's fundamental. So
there's a great imbalance right now, and we live in a duality world: hot, cold, black, white, light, darkness, negative, positive, ions. Everything is opposites, but everything seems to be out of balance right now. I think it's leaning to one way, and we have to get that balance because we are in a duality world. And I don't know how you feel about that, but
well, that's one of the essential points that's raised, and in Billy's book, The Might of the Thoughts, which is a brilliant book on how to think that he has, which is now in English, accompanied by German, but it's all in English as well. He speaks about the fact that everything, of course, as you're talking about, has the positive, the negative, the plus, the minus, the duality. And it's important for us to understand the necessity of not only the positive, but the negative. So, in this system of teaching, we're shown that purely positive thinking doesn't work. It band-aids things. If we are going to layer over only positive thoughts or affirmations over things that we don't like or are troubled by without getting into that thought, feeling, action, observation, self-honesty, we won't make positive change. It'll actually go negative. So we have to see and acknowledge the negative, and then from that perspective of seeing things as they are, we exercise that choice, that preferred direction, that positive element that we want to enact, that outcome that we want to move towards. So we are aware of this duality. But as you just said, it is so out of balance now with the negative. And people go unconscious and they don't know how to deal with it. Largely, many people don't even want to recognize that this is high negativity that we're in. Instead, we retreat to entertainment, sports, celebrities, texting, cell phones, you name it. Now, we are in the technological age, and we're going to use those things. But there is that balance, again, that you were pointing out. We are out of balance. And if we choose to always move when we're faced with or in the environment of negativity or difficulty, we just go for our entertainment and distraction, then we are defaulting and thereby increasing the difficulties that we face.
Well said, Michael. Well said. Absolutely. So one thing I'm sure you get this question all the time with our world in such chaos right now. Why don't the Plejarens help us? Why don't they? I guess they are helping us, but people want to know why they don't land and take over. And
well, as soon as you brought that up and you were answering the question for yourself, but I immediately thought of I thought of a university. So people come to be educated at a university. The professors don't take the tests for the students. They don't build the projects and figure things out. They teach, and then in universities, of course, they may grade things. The beauty of our university on Earth is we have this huge body, basically free, the highest level instruction we could hope for. No beliefs, no false information, no ritual superstitions, religiousness, fear, just pure logic and truth for us to think our way through ourselves. But here, it's given to us and by the professors who say, here it is, now you get to read this, to study it, to implement and test it, and to grade yourselves. If your lives improve, if your world improves, then you're doing it right. And if not, you are capable of figuring out why not and how not. And our job is basically done. If we do it for you, you will never learn. You will never learn, and you will continue to screw your place up even worse. And if we get ourselves in the middle of it and come down here and land and distract you, then we're going to suddenly have, or we'll be attacked. People will go psycho. They'll attack each other. They'll kill themselves. No, thank you. Let's just let it be. Let's let it be. And you folks, you can do it. Figure it out. Work it out. And otherwise, you're going to start over. And it's not going to be pretty.
So will they allow us to destroy the planet and ourselves if we continue where we're headed right now?
Well, they will allow us to destroy ourselves if we are that stupid and allow, if we allow those people who are in the positions to really destroy, then they say this is the choice of Earth humanity, either by default or voluntarily. And as long as they are not doing anything that will blow the planet apart and hurtle it, 360 through space, blow up A-bombs and all the rest, already we have set in motion so much stuff that is going to precipitate environmental destruction that Meier has been describing for decades, that is now upon us, and that is now going to get, unfortunately, very much worse. We have allowed it. People just have refused. It's a sad story, but they cannot interfere because it will upset our evolutionary process, progress, and balance. They just have to go, okay, folks, here is the information. You don't have to screw things up. But if you insist, then you get to deal with it.
There are stories of missiles that have been, deactivated, and I don't know what ETs are doing that, but obviously they are interfering with what we're doing. So it's kind of interesting, and maybe there are others. I know you think that maybe the Plejarens are the only ones, actually not interfering, but watching over us right now. Do you feel that there's any other ETs out there at this time?
Here's the information from the case that I recall. Let's go back to the thing about blowing up the planet. The Plejaren interfered. The Plejaren interfered some couple decades ago when scientists were going to test what would have been effectively a chain reaction bomb. Had they detonated the bomb, it would have ignited the very atmosphere of the entire Earth, and within minutes the planet would become a cinder. They interfered with that test. As for the other reports over missile silos, and I've seen these things too, I don't have any definitive information. Some of the reports of extraterrestrials interfering with military are certainly not accurate, and maybe some are. As for other races have come and gone occasionally, in recent times. Their ships have been seen, though most UFOs are not extraterrestrial. They're secret military. However, there is a race that is divided into 3 or 4 groups that does monitor, that is, observe the planet. And as far as the Plejaren know to date, they have had no interaction with anybody, and there wasn't any that was foreseen. They hadn't tried to contact anyone or land, but they were very interested in observing. They are somewhat, more advanced than we are, significantly, in certain ways technologically. They are nowhere near advanced as the Plejaren, so the Plejaren have no contact with them. Now, could there be somebody else here and there? Possibly, but let's dispel, some illogical rumors unless and until they could ever really be proved. A lot of people are that evil aliens, the Greys, what have you, have made pacts, deals, contracts, and agreements with, for instance, the U.S. military, the U.S. government, and that they're working away happily in the, underneath the desert sands down there with their big heads and their big eyes and unable to speak and what have you.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. For any extraterrestrial race that has the capacity to travel through space, hundreds of light years, quite possibly, they first of all need a very, very long lifespan compared to ours, many hundreds of years at minimum. They are going to have to be far more advanced, at least technologically, than we. And if they are evil intended, and I'm not saying that there's any currently dealing with us that are, but if they were evil intended and wanted to abduct people, they do not have any need whatsoever to make agreements with our primitive governments and military. This is more disinformation to keep people chasing lights in the sky, keep them chasing their own tails, being afraid of so-called non-existent evil aliens. The abduction phenomenon, when there is any actual physical abduction, is done basically by secret military ops that have advanced types of crafts and weapons, not anywhere near what the Plejaren have, but advanced enough to be able to mess people up and scare them and all the rest of it. This same holds true for animal abductions. So this is time, for people to get away from simply running around in circles, scaring themselves, worrying about getting floated through their walls or windows or what have you. Folks, we're not important enough individually, any of us, for any extraterrestrials to come and abduct us to get our worthless, screwed up genetics and our really, really tragic emotions. So this, if you believe that stuff, you've been suckered by the UFO industry and all the profiteers and charlatans who've been pumping that garbage and using the forums through exopolitics. I'm sorry, we got to get off. We got to speak pretty plainly these days, folks, because if we don't, we're going to dawdle around with all this make-believe stuff while you get yourself biochipped and treated like cows and sheep. The evil aliens ain't doing that to you. It's your government and your corporate military industrial entities and all the various cabals that do exist and aren't always the ones people think exist. So that's a whole other story.
It sure is, Michael. It sure is. And if we had more time, we could go on forever. But let's get into some predictions. Does Billy foresee another war coming, World War III? Because there's a lot of predictions out there about 2015 and the way things are moving. The Mideast, we've got Russia. there's just a lot, even Korea, I mean, there's just a lot of unsettling things out there, saber rattling and all. So
yes,
what did you foresee that?
Well, Meier has been publishing information about a possible third war for decades. As early as 1975-76, he published information about the Russian and Chinese military alliance, which would operate and develop itself secretly and ultimately attack the West. The fall of England, as early as 1981, he foretold the U.S. breaking up into 5 territories after 2 civil wars here. He foretold the Russian military movements that are underway now, as far back specifically as 1981 and 87. The Third World War, as we conceive of it, could have occurred even in the 1990s, but various things, people involved with this work, involved with other peace work, have helped to push that back. But recent developments, where 6 months ago a Third World War did not seem likely, as recently as a couple months ago, Meier and the Plejaren have said this has changed because of the situation. When we speak about the Russian military movements, a lot of people, have said, well, it isn't all Russia's fault. And in a sense, they're right, because the Plejaren, among others, for a long time have said it is the military and economic policies of the U.S. that are behind most of the world's troubles. The aggression, the acts of unprovoked aggression that this country has enacted against other people, unprovoked, as far back as 1947 till just a few years ago, there was something like 247, 250, where you could look at this and read this record. And the problem is now that due to all of the power plays, the EU, that Meier foretold in 1958, he foretold the European Union and that it would become a dictatorship and that it would lead the way with the U.S. in biochipping people. Folks, you got to read this info. It's all free. Get on the site and start getting educated. This is why you don't hear about the Meier case in the mainstream media, because it's suppressed from the top down. They will not, willingly let you find out about this on mainstream press and start going to your keyboards and typing in Billy Meier. And even though you're going to get some skeptic claims, it's a hoax and what have you, once you start searching this out, your jaws will drop. Because, yes, they are warning, and they have been.
Right.
I mean, Meier predicted AIDS in 1958, 2 U.S. wars with Iraq in 58. I mean, the fake moon landing and the other moon landings that were genuine. He predicted it in 58, 11 years before the first attempt. You have to, you wrap your head around this. They are saying we're already pretty much into a kind of a worldwide conflagration, because if it isn't even strictly an international world war, the environment, the war with and on the environment, is going to just wreak havoc. And this isn't something where we should just sit and go, oh my goodness. We've got to grasp this a little bit better and then come back and go, well, what am I going to do about the world? Well, it starts with each of us. We have to learn how to think. It means, if nothing else, we slow up. We start learning this process of how do we really think, and how do I do this moment by moment, as best I can, keep returning myself to this process of learning how to think. And in that process, when we correcting our thinking, that microcosm, it starts to interconnect with other people doing the same thing. Sure, it's a slow process because we've screwed things up for so long, but now we start soldering those connections together, or just etherically, electronically making those links with each other through right thinking. And gradually this strengthens, and people will then be coming into small communities with each other, focused on right thinking and right living, because the big cities are going to be, hell on earth. It goes on, and it isn't about doom and gloom. The real thing is about straighten yourselves out down there for your own sakes.
Right.
We don't want to just keep giving you prophecies so that you can be like deer in the headlights and not know what to do.
I know many of his predictions many of his predictions have come true. And I wonder if time travel or time, are certain things destined to happen, like earthquakes, and other things we can change. I mean, some of these predictions and prophecies go back thousands of years. So where does Billy stand on that, and what have the Plejarens told him about that?
Okay, well, the Enoch prophecies, for instance, are over 10,000 years old, and yet those are the ones that foretold the Russian military movements, the involvement with Canada and the U.S. Those names weren't even known 10,000 years ago, but Enoch foretold all that. That's happening right now. In there, 1987, foretold Ebola in the Enoch prophecies. So how is it done?
Amazing.
And all of that? The Plejaren have access under certain conditions to time travel. The true prophets, the true seers who really have extraordinary abilities, like the Enoch line or the Nocodemian line, these human beings, their spirit form is extremely ancient and super high developed, and through their consciousness they can see into the future. But what it's about is the laws of cause and effect. You see, we're not destined to destroy ourselves unless we keep on taking, actions that are stupid and negative and that lead to destruction. That's why the prophets gave the prophecies, because they could see the direction that humanity was going in, and they wanted us to know that we needed to make course corrections in our thinking and actions, thinking, feeling, and actions, if you will, so as not to get these results, these effects from these stupid causes we keep doing. It's kind of physics, cause and effect. Everything in the universe operates according to the laws of cause and effect.
Absolutely, Michael, absolutely. And where we're going is certainly proof of that. Exactly. So time, can be changed. I mean, events can be changed, but when we're talking about maybe, comets or meteors hitting Earth or earthquakes, natural type things, those things probably can't be changed, right?
Predictions about objects, incoming objects, certain earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, these things, as I say, certain ones pertain to natural occurrences that actually rarely, they aren't the fault of humanity. The problem is that let's just deal with the earthquake volcanic type of a thing. We have so imbalanced the planet and the tectonic plates that we have created increased frequency and intensity of all forms of environmental destruction, from earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, storms, tsunamis, tidal waves, blizzards, tornadoes, hurricanes, you name it. Now, with an incoming object like what's known as the Apophis asteroid, Meier was warned about this in 1981. They called it, they called it the red meteor, and they said your scientists need to come together and deflect this, otherwise, either in 2029 or most likely in 2036, it will hit your planet and really make a mess. Now, NASA, of course, says, it's no problem. However, since we published that information going back a few years, the Russians, the Chinese, and the European Space Agency suddenly said, hey, this just might be a problem, and they have started taking some action in that direction. NASA actually corrected the size dimensions that they estimated Apophis to be, now within 25 meters of what Meier published. So these are, some of these types of things. And, it's, again, this is to us. Some things were foretold because they were unavoidable, purely natural events, and some because of human action precipitating it. And the beauty of taking the self-responsibility for our thoughts, feelings, and actions is that we improve the quality of our own lives. We feel better about life. We take back control. And then that outer world, while it's not changing as fast as we may change, we are throwing those pebbles in the pond. We're putting the grains of sand. on, in that bottle for it. And one day then it tips because of all of the collective contributions of consciousness to the process.
Excellent, Michael. Absolutely. You've just covered so much in such a short time. We do have to human up. We have to, become critical mass where we change the future because there's still time. I mean, it's not over yet, right? We can do anything, right?
Well, we can do. I wish we could do anything. We can do more than we're doing. We want to change critical mess by critical mass into something that might be citizen, and that's going to take each of our participation. And before I forget about it, I have a new film out that's called "And Did They Listen?" And this film encapsulates a lot of what we're talking about tonight. Came out this year, and actually it's been banned at Arizona State University. They won't permit it to be shown. It was too upsetting to the department there that would have had to approve it. I also have had trouble presentation I wanted to do at Northern Arizona University. That one has at least been turned down. I was refused a place to rent based on my connection to the Meier case. Someone actually discriminated against me. The Arizona State Attorney General is actually filing on that. I mean, some weird things have happened. So to celebrate all these obstacles and occurrences, if any of your listeners will take advantage of me, please get my new film, the DVD, And Did They Listen? And just put the name Betsey in there, in your order, and I will send you another complete, full-length film DVD on the Meier case, 2 for 1. No strings attached. Just put Betsey's name in your order. And I'll honor this for, as long as people are going to listen to the show, grab it, and as long as supplies last, as they say, I'll honor it because you'll get some stuff that you're going to be amazed at what's documented and you can test and prove for yourself.
Great offer, Michael. Great offer. So tell us what you've got going on and where will you be that you haven't been banned?
Well, I'm still going to try to get into this Northern Arizona University. I live up here near it. And, the Meier case was also recently endorsed by an aerospace engineer who worked for NASA. Heck, he worked on the space shuttle, the space station, for all of these different huge projects, and he just came out a few months ago and said, this is real, I endorse it, I'll speak about it, So we're going to try to move this out into the public if we can get in. The, UFO events won't host me, which is okay because most of the time it's just preaching to the choir, but they won't have me present on the Meier case because it really shuts out everything else in terms of valid UFO cases. I got MUFON to at least put the case up on their site, although they got cold feet and they won't announce to their membership that it's real. They just are listing the case on the page. So I'm doing all these things, and there's a new film that'll come out in about 3 weeks, I think, and that's going to be Meier answering over 30 specific questions pertaining to the use of the spiritual teaching in everyday life. So people can look forward to that. We've got lots of stuff. As I say, there's tons of free stuff, but if you want to get a 2 for 1 on these DVDs, please take me up on it. I do answer email challenges and questions. It just will take me a little while because I'm busy blogging my brains out here. There's about 365 blogs up on my blog. So, yeah.
Great. And I wanted to mention, Michael, that your DVD, your award-winning feature-length documentary, The Silent Revolution of Truth, you sent that to me, and I was just blown away by the photos, just everything that you put in there. These are things that you don't normally see or know about, and, I just want to let the listeners know about that because it is amazing. It's mind-blowing. It really is.
Well, I appreciate that, and the film after that, As the Time Fulfills, that has 55 specific corroborations of Meier's prophetic scientific information. Many more have occurred since then. And then the newest film, And Did They Listen? That's got more info. Plus, it also shows the new WC UFO, how people can test that themselves. That was just authenticated in the 74-page report. I mean, we've given people in this stuff everything they can possibly want. If they want to know, it's here. And then it's up to each person, to decide what value it has for them, how truthful they feel it is, and what they want to do with it.
I think the problem today is there's so much garbage on the internet. There's been so much photoshopped. It's a cesspool of information out there. It really is. And people they don't want to believe what could be totally true, and this goes back, before photoshopping, when Billy was, capturing these incredible beamships. So people have to think about that.
Well, you're right. And actually, then they don't have to believe anything, because once they see, for instance, they can take one of Meier's photographs right off the internet from 1981, drop it in Photoshop themselves, just brighten the photo up, and they can see that Meier photographed this object from above, hovering over a gravel road near a grassy field at night, and it isn't even visible on the online photograph. They can do it themselves. So
amazing.
It's all there.
Sure, absolutely. Michael, would you give out your website again and any other information you want to add? And that would be great.
Sure. Yeah. Well, my website is theyfly, THEYFLY, theyfly.com, and my blog is linked from it. It's just They Fly blog. And we've got just tons of info on both, and free. I mean, get into the spiritual teaching. It's like taking a graduate course in thinking for free. Do it. Ask questions, challenge things, and then, find people in your area where you live that are, connecting with this and interconnect with them. Just reach out to others. Reach out in this direction. We'll answer questions, and then determine the truth for yourself. This is what these times require. It's not about scaring people. Certain things will happen if we don't act. Certain things will be perhaps a bit better if we do act. So it's up to each of us. And we want to live, as Billy says, in true peace, love, freedom, and harmony. Those are not, undesirable states. And we can do it. We can begin that right away. We don't need anybody else for it. No authorities, gods, saints, saviors, gurus, masters, mullahs. No. We are in charge of our own lives.
And I wanted to mention that I read your conspiracy theory blog today, and I thought, here I am. I believe in some conspiracy theories out there, but you're right. It just doesn't matter, even if there are conspiracy theories and things, conspiracies going on, with our government, whatever. It's about us changing our world, and, we just can't get caught up in that stuff. You're absolutely right.
It just doesn't help us. Look, the problem is this. There are, sort of very negatively intended people who actually know how this works. They know the might of the thoughts. They don't sit around worrying about evil aliens. They go about trying to steal and rob and control and manipulate without any hesitation, doubt, or concern. So they're playing that game while we're sitting around worrying about imaginary stuff. We need to take charge of our lives, learn how to think, and we will straighten things out.
Yes, we will. Absolutely. Well, Michael, the hour has just flown by, like it always does when you're on the show. But I want to thank you so much for another outstanding interview, and I hope you'll come back again. Love